idea about what I do, well, I've been in the industry for now 28 years, almost 30 years now, and I've largely been a strategic change management specialist, which was my earlier days, where I used to focus as my career, and along with that came the scope of working deeply in the space of innovation and working towards change management through innovation. So therefore, obviously, all my life, in my major career part of my life, I've been dealing with innovation and transformation in organizations, not only in the Fortune 500 companies, but Fortune 100 companies, and with global exposure. At the same time, been taking the learning from all this and been implementing this at the grassroots level at the social innovation space. So that's where my heart lies, and I've been applying all my learnings there. And by this COVID impact, now we are seeing that there's a huge space thrown open now in social innovation and social entrepreneurship. So largely, what I'm going to deal with now in the next few minutes is going to be speaking about the journey I had with recent innovation that I worked on, and of course to break that into an understanding which will help you in your academic work. So do we start?
Yes, sir. Please start. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. So thank you. Now I'll just begin with the understanding, since the topic is all about prototyping and how do you take the prototyping and then finally lead it to the stage of the innovation being validated, and then from validation you go into forming a startup. So that's the topic that has been given to me. So what you see out here in the presentation, hope you're all able to see the presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. So what we start here are the various process of prototyping. So here we see that it begins with the bulb, the idea, and then we try to define it, define the scope of it, define what it actually would try to make as an impact, what is the intention of having that particular prototype being created or that innovation, and then we try to create a sort of a design of it. And when we create a design, we will obviously want to test it. And when we test it, the kind of changes that comes into the learning. So obviously, when you're testing it, there will be a lot of things that will emerge which you did not consider while you were designing it. And from the intent of trying to create a solution for that particular problem statement, you will start working on it and then capture all the various changes, and from the changes you will then move on to improvising the whole design. So you keep on testing it, so the testing does not end. Most of the time the testing goes for a very long time, especially in things which are on medical field, and things which are on deep design in engineering. These things need a lot of several iterations and combination for a very long time. So once you have come with the design 1, design 2, design 3, everywhere there is a sort of improvisation, then finally you reach a stage where now you need to clearly identify what space that you want to address. The normally the society offers you a variety of solutions and spaces where you can apply your technology, but then you need to define exactly what is the kind of usage or the brand recall value that you would like to have, or the customer recall value that you would like to imbibe. And therefore you need to look at what branding you need to create for that, so that only for that particular thing people will be able to identify your technology. Now if you take one example, when you say in the two-wheeler segment, if I say electrical vehicle, then suddenly you will talk about Aster, or you will talk about any of the recent innovations that are being introduced to the market. Now if I say when I say Splendor, or when I say Hero Honda, there is a certain brand recall that you get and certain image that comes into your mind. So that is very important. How do you create the right image in the targeted segment of customers that you are looking at? Now Next part would be to fund it. And when you fund it, you will also like to see that it is protected. That is, you will go for your IP registration, patenting, and ensure that this technology design, final design, is under your control. Then you go for producing more than one prototype or several prototypes, and then see that it reaches the customers and the actual customers, and you start working with the customers. So ultimately what you see here is that once that phase is over, then you go into the launch pad. When you go into the launch pad, that is the stage where you do mass production. So you this is the entire process of prototyping. And what you see at the last stage as a launch pad, that is the stage where we talk about the startup getting created, where you actually think about not just the product but all the things that come around the product. Now, whether it is in terms of the investment that is required to do put an assembly line, or it is about having working capital or purchase of raw material, or having the right quality certifications for it, or even having the need to see that there is enough marketing and advertisements given for that. So all that planning will come, and that is when you give direction to it and say, now I have founded a startup for this particular idea or the prototype. Now let me just take you to the next slide. In the stages of commercialization, we have to go through several stages. Now, this is a very scientific approach. If you skip any one stage, that means you will have to go back to zero and start all over again, reboot all over again. So therefore, my dear friends, you need to bear in your mind that the stages of commercialization has to be scientifically followed, judiciously followed, and ensure that you are able to complete each of that aspect, so that it does not open up a Pandora box when you are in the next forthcoming stage. So what is that? What are the various stages? So I've just made it simple here. I've tried to define this in 6 stages in the early stages. So first is the discovery, as I explained earlier. Then you're talking about the exploration of the discovery. That means the discovery has been made. Now you're trying to see how you will try to ensure that this is harnessed, how this idea is harnessed, right? So exploitation is a very negative word, but then I would just say the word, let's say, harnessing, for your better understanding. Then how do you see that the harnessing takes place? And in the harnessing, the prototype is born, right? And the prototype are two different stages. Now, they say anything that you do in life is twice born. This is something that people used to tell me. I used to wonder what does it really mean. So there were many platforms that these statements used to come. Then I realized, when we were born and brought into the real life, we were actually born much before that. When we say my birth date is on such a date, but actually my I was born quite before that. Now when you say like that, what does it mean? When our parents think of having a child, and they do the determination of having to give birth to a child and procreate, that itself is a moment when we are already born. And when we are born, and from that stage onwards, effort is there, and the entire scientific process takes place, and then we consider ourselves having been born only when we have been brought into this world. So the same way, a prototype is born twice: once in the mind, where we convert the idea from the mind to a 3D image or a prototyping, which is on a design level on paper, right, or on a visual impression. And then from there we try to bring that into real manifestation. That means we convert that idea into actual feel and touch and use kind of a model. So therefore, what we talk about here is stage 4, where the testing happens. So these are now this one I am specifically talking about medical devices. So therefore, the word called preclinical and clinical trials are mentioned here. So in these stages, where the prototype is going through various testing on potential, maybe it could be the guinea pigs, or it could be on rabbits, or it could be on monkeys. When the testing happens, then it is done on a human trial, just like how you had the COVID vaccine. It was first done on animals, and then it was done on human trial. And only after the human animal trials were successful, human trial permission was given, then the human trial prototyping happened. And when those clinical trials gave the desired result, then only it was given permission to go forward into more concerted effort of mass production. The same way, you have now the stage 5, in which decision on final method of commercialization is done. So at what stage? So do we break the vaccine into one vaccine, or do we break the vaccine into two vaccines? Right? Two dosage of vaccines, or we say the vaccine will be more effective if there is three dosages of vaccines. Now in some cases they say 5 to 6 dosages, especially if you remember a long time ago, if the person was bitten by a dog suffering from rabies, they used to prescribe 7 doses of injection to complete the entire process of vaccination. But then later on, various other clinical trials were run on various whether different innovations, and then they came with Rabipur, which was only one single dose, and that was good enough to cover the entire impact of the rabid immunity. So therefore, what I would like to then now highlight is the stage 6. Now, in this, you are seeing the product development and the various, actually, the various combinations and permutations that you are doing. Now, that materialization takes place here. So, therefore, while you are on the stage 5th, you are now thinking of commercialization, and that is the stage when you ensure that the licensing IP is there, the selling IP is there, and then you own also the production. Sometimes we don't want to own the production, we just say we will own the licensing and the IP, and then the production is given away to someone else. Now that's exactly why I am going to showcase you some of the work that was done, which will relate to this. Now we go to the next uh, presentation, which I would here like to highlight on what are the steps. So, as reinforcing what I've already covered, the early steps in the stage of the designing of a prototype is first to break the idea into a very solvable problem, very simple problem, and then how do you make sure the idea is able to simplify the problem statement and understand the whole thing in such a way that you are able to get the confidence that this particular idea will be able to eradicate that problem. Then comes the next step: make a rough initial product. So when we say make a rough initial product, this is exactly what I meant. You need to create a 3D model of that, or a CAD CAM design of that, or maybe a pencil sketch will do. Now design thinking is not necessarily about all the time creating something all the time, but it's also about going back on the drawing board and seeing how you can make better and better design. So you first create that entire thing, and then build a step 3 is about building a virtual product. A virtual product, again, may not be necessarily the actual product itself. A virtual product is just a prototype, a small prototype. For example, in construction industry, you will see that the architect builds the entire model of the sky, building, apartment and all on a small board, and will demonstrate how these buildings look, and it will also show how the space will look, where is the parking area, where the recreational area will be there, where the swimming pool will be there, all that in a miniature demonstration. Now when you see that miniature demonstration, you will get a rough idea, and you will be able to construct your thought process based on that. And then whatever iteration, changes, or combination, permutation you want to make, you make in that. And then finally you go into the larger final design, which will start building the actual prototype. So then comes the fifth step, that is the reality, where the work starts. And when you talk about large scale projects, you straight away go from this stage to bringing the construction of the, or the foundation of that, in a very planned approach. So now, um, what do you see here? During the COVID, we had a challenge that people were suffering from oxygen crisis, and there weren't many of these innovations available. There weren't many of these products of medical devices available. Most of it were being imported. Almost 95% of that were being imported, and there were not I mean, many of the solutions available within India. So there was a sudden surge and demand, and what happened in that was there was a lot of chaos. So people who were in the trading community made a lot of money trying to push all types of products in the Indian market because of the urgency, and made a lot of money selling a product which was only valued at 50,000 at 2 lakh, 3 lakh per piece. Now, in this crisis, what happened is people who could afford, people who had a lot of money were able to do it. But what about the people who could not afford it? So, therefore, there was an urgent need of innovation to be put into that direction, where we will be able to generate oxygen from our own Indian produced or Indian designs, and the products should be available locally at local rates, and should be able to be accessible to the common people as well. So now, as a part of that, Indian Institute of Science started working on a design. They were anyway working on something like this for quite some time. So the whole prototype design was accelerated. So what you see here in the first slide is about the design that was created at the raw stage. Now this was the basic design. You see the entire spec here, and this spec was placed in the hospitals, and clinical trials were run to test the condition and the compatibility and the ruggedness of this entire design. So while this was happening, a little bit next version was created taking the feedback. Some people said when they look at this, the patients were feeling afraid whether this particular equipment will be able to provide them a sense of security, because they didn't want them to be put as an experimental goat. So therefore many of the patients objected. When they objected, so therefore more than the medical device efficiency itself, the design, the look of it was very important. So this was taken as a feedback, and the next version was created, which was something like this, which gave them the feeling that there is a medical equipment and all that, but it was made transparent so that people can understand that this is a completely medical device. But while this was happening, again a lot of people felt scared that what if this machine is not okay, because I am not used to seeing this kind of a design. I'm not used to seeing what is inside a medical device or equipment. And then when you fix that to me, I feel that you're trying to put something into me, and I'm feeling very scared. So therefore people were not responding to this, and it was, though the efficiency and all was doing great, the impact on the patients was not really taken well. So since this was about safety standards and various other objects, then came the decision to improvise it. Now this was one of the design, the final design what we perfected, and now this is ready for the commercialization. So this is the commercial design what you see here. So we have whatever was there inside, what was equipment which were replaceable, we have kept it there. There is also a digital monitor that which shows the oxygen levels, and people can read it, and it gives a nice pleasant feeling of trees and all that, which gives them a feeling that okay, I am not getting into something scary. And therefore you see the display, that digital display on top. Now that gives you a clear cut indication of what is the pulse rate, what is the oximeter details that is there, and then also the consumption level. So all this is given there, and beside that you see the branding. The product is called Dew Dot, and on the other side is the logo and the impression of Indian Institute of Science, which makes people feel, oh, this is not something like a Chinese made or something that is dangerous where my life will be put at risk. So therefore I can trust this. I am willing to surrender myself to be examined or treated by using this equipment. Now this entire psychological evolution happened because of the change in the design, and after taking the feedback, and then finally we were able to finalize that this is the final design, this is the cost of the product, this is the cost of the compressor, this is the cost of the zeolite, and this is the entire specification that needs to be bundled into one product as a final finished product. And therefore the cost of this comes to about 75,000 per piece. So once we got the idea, now when we have got this idea that this is a 75,000 cost, now when we look at the Indian market, and when we look at saying how do we make this competitive, how do we make this more affordable, so the normal feedback came is that if you are having the product being sold at somewhere around 55,000 rupees or 60,000 rupees, then it would be more market driven thing, because Indian market is very price conscious. So therefore how do we crack that problem? So there then came the idea that as a startup, now how do we look at it? So therefore now this was converted into a startup, and then the business was not started on producing 100 pieces or 200 pieces. The initial order itself was taken from the government of Karnataka with 5,000 units. So when I'm producing in the scale of 5,000 units, obviously my production cost goes down, and I am able to give a better competitive rate, and that benefit of that competitiveness is transferred to the beneficiaries who are buying it. So this is the entire cycle of how a transformation of a prototype, a raw design and solution with the problem statement, and then you come into the entire process of how you iterate it, go through the various clinical trials. So when the clinical trials were run, there were hospitals gave us the certificate that this is running in a very good condition, and it is giving efficiency of oxygen which is above 92%, which is required in a 10 liter LPM, that is liter per minute. So at the end of the day, the medical devices to be sold also needs quality certification. So we got ISO 13,000 quality certification done for this. And the question is, normally in the process of quality certification, no matter what urgency you have or how serious that demand is and the situation is, the quality certifying authority will always go by scientific stage by stage approach. So therefore we had to say that this is of critical nature and urgency in nature. So in overall supervision, they gave us a provisional certificate. Though this takes 6 months to get the entire certification, provisional certification was released to us to ensure that customers and government specification standardization is met with, and safety standards are met with. Because in a medical device, the challenge here is, if you cause the death of a person, of a patient, by negligence, then it is equivalent to the life imprisonment under section 135. Sorry, 405. So therefore under IPC 405, this is as serious as a crime as a life imprisonment. So therefore, taking into consideration all this, more than the innovation, we have to keep into consideration so many factors. Now, when we were totally addressing all these issues, we launched it into the market, and we gave a startup brand under which the Spectrum Engineering Tools Private Limited launched this as a medical device. So with this, I would like to stop here, and then I would like to see if any one of you have any questions. I would be happy to address it.
Sir, I have a question. How a basic
Yeah.
small prototype, which is built by the student, can get into the market? How easy it is for the student, or how hard it is for the student to put it in the market, make it a sellable product?
Well, student innovations are normally, it's not that difficult to get into the market, provided you take adequate measure of the technical mentors and the market what do you call marketing and sales mentors into consideration from the industry, particular domain industry which you are trying to represent with the prototype. If this is bundled into the entire student innovation at the early stage, so that as the innovation goes through the iteration, the difficulty of pushing it into the market comes only when you have not addressed things properly to what the customer is looking at. So if it is just if I just go to the presentation and ask you to look at the first photograph of the design that we had, that was more or less like a student innovation, because that was an academic innovation. Now, if I take that and push it into the market, obviously I will have a challenge. So therefore, when we are saying that it's a student innovation, the student innovation product has to be fine tuned, well rounded, with proper mentorship to ensure that the domain specific knowledge is also bundled into it, and you are also going through various trials and errors to ensure what the finally the person who will be willing to buy it and willing to pay for it would want to see in the product. If that is addressed, then I think you have no problem. Any innovation from student side can hit the market with success.
Okay. It's just that the target market has to be identified at the early stage.
Yeah. So when you're doing the designing on the 3D model or on the designing stage, at that stage itself, the student has to virtually work with the relevant mentors so that the shaping of this happens in the right way from the DNA stage itself. Now, when you bring it to the prototype where the validation stage has happened, and in validation stage, if you have neglected all these factors, obviously you are going to run into trouble, and the process of getting the final commercial validation will take a long time. So that's when the students will lose interest or will feel not so confident about it, because the when you take more and more time for the product to make people like it or willing to buy it, that is when you lose the interest. So therefore, it is very important to bring this holistic thought process in the beginning itself when the design is happening.
Okay. We have seen examples of students building multiple prototypes and getting into the market and finding the mentors, and somewhere it always gets stuck and never a successful story. So to get there is quite challenging. So do you have any suggestions on that?
Yeah, see, what happens is when you develop a prototype or a product, that product has to be you need to look at it from the angle of where you can apply it, and also very clearly understand who your real customers are. We cannot generalize everyone as our customer, and we can often we do this mistake that we generalize it and we'll say every type of customer will be able to use this. Now when you say like that, the in today's context of the market where people are pampered with lots of free discounts and giveaways and all, the attraction of a particular thing is completely different from what it used to be about 5 6 years ago, because today people expect more for nothing. So therefore, the strategy of getting to people accept it is one thing, as a challenge where students will get stuck. I think that is where students have to work on. Now, just to give you an example, there was this set of schools, that is college students, who came out with this new brand of chai. And this was from the Chamrajnagar district of Karnataka, where in the state a lot of tea plantations have been grown there. So therefore, the students who came from representing this district came with a new brand of chai. Now, I asked them this question: okay, this chai looks damn good. It's giving a lot of good aroma, and the packaging, everything is very beautiful. But all having said and done, what I feel about the chai, and when I drink the chai and taste the chai, does this tea make me feel that I need to drink more and more of it, or do I feel okay? This tastes like tea, but I'm not so keen on having another cup of it. So therefore, taking that as a cue, instead of taking the tea packets and packaged well and all that stuff and trying to sell it directly, what they did is they went to a particular point. They did not go, though the product is something that any kind of customer, looking at the packaging, any kind of customer will say, I would want to buy this, but they didn't rush into that. What they did was they went to the railway station and they put up a canopy there. And in the process, they they looked at all the passengers who were getting down the train, alighting from the train, and were very tired after a long journey. So they used to only look at those trains which came from a long distance, and then they used to rush there with, six or seven of them with cups out there, with small paper cups with the tea in it, and with no selling idea, no branding, nothing out there. They just went and offered it to the tired passengers and say, and loudly announced, saying, welcome to Bangalore, the beautiful garden city. We are we accept you here as a part of our community, and we know that you have come a long way and you're very tired, so as a welcoming gesture we are giving you this chai. When they heard this, people did not feel threatened. They did not feel that these guys are trying to sell something. So what they did is they took they tasted it, and when they tasted it, many of them felt that it was good. They felt good about it. So what they did is automatically they went and asked the canopy fellow, asking how much is this, and what is the rate, and then obviously the selling happened. So therefore, what I want to imply here is you need to make people use your innovation, get a hang of what they feel, make them feel that this is good about, feel good about it, and then make sure that it is applicable. And the applicable part should be of repeated nature. It should not be a one time, two time. When then people will become not users but keepers. When they become keepers, then they will no longer want to come back to you again and buy. So the entire thing fails. It gives a lot of attraction in the beginning and it fails. So therefore, apart from the prototyping, you also perfecting the prototyping and all, you need to also have a proper sales strategy, or a strategy which will ensure that the customers whom you're targeting are very specific, and you make them buy it. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir, very much. Yeah, probably that strategy would work. Uh, Only when it comes to food, it would work that way. But when it comes to rest of the product, there must be some other kind of strategies to be set to put in
Yeah,
the market and
you're right.
attract the customers.
You're right. See, if you look at this medical device,
Yeah.
which example I gave, now the question was having produced it and the market being saturated with so many people having dumped so many products all over the world now, and CSR people having brought loads and loads in thousands and dumped it. Now the question was, who will buy this machine? Though it is all fantastic quality conscious everything, but who will buy it? So that is when we said we have to aggregate and create a market which does not exist. So when we went to the government of Karnataka and we offered this to the minister of health, Dr. Sudhakar, and we told that, look, you have got 2500 primary healthcare centers in Karnataka, and even if you place two of them in each center, it's a big backup that you are giving to the rural masses, which has been completely neglected. So therefore we identified where the market is, which has not been served or which has been underserved, and then we anticipated the demand and created the demand and went and got a purchase order from the government saying that we will supply two machines to all of this. And the government said, look, we don't have that kind of fund. So therefore we said, you just give the order. And then we brought together all the CSR donors and various other organizations which wanted to be partnering in this. And then now we have started supplying one shot 5,000 units, which was unthinkable. So when you are talking about a particular engineering product or any other product, the bottom line is same. Who will feel that this will make a big impact in their organization or in their community by using this innovation, and whether this innovation is really solving a major problem or it is a problem which is not that critical. So therefore if this question is put now, you have to go back to the designing table all over again and rethink, when you are taking up this idea, how critical this problem is. Have you solved a problem which is very very critical, or it is not so critical? Then the fate of the prototype is decided there. If the market is not ready for it, if the market does not feel that there is a need for this, then your innovation will be a great innovation, but it will not be accepted by the society.
Okay. Thank you for this answer, sir. Like it was very convincing with all the examples you provided. We have one more participant who has a doubt. I guess Miss Dola Sinha. Miss Dola Sinha, you raised your hand. Are you there? Okay. You can text. I'll read out the question, ma'am. How to identify mentors for a startup? Ms. Archana Kumar has asked a question, sir. How to identify mentors for a startup?
Okay. See, when you're identifying a mentor for a startup, it's a good question. At this stage itself, you need to see whether the person has the relevant industry experience in this particular domain on the product that you're working on, so that the entire foresight of various such innovations or solutions that has been worked out, that and why they failed, and what is that one must do to ensure that those things are actually bundled into this. So all that kind of awareness, wisdom should be there in the mentor while you choose the mentor, and the mentor should also have the ability to be forthcoming and sharing. And we also need to see that there is a good chemistry between the mentor and the mentee. If there is no good chemistry, and if it is I know it all kind of approach, then that mentoring session mentoring relationship will not work. At the end of it also, the mentee and the mentor need to lock into a commitment of saying why they are getting into this mentoring, and at the end of it, what is the expected outcome, and how do you progressively review it and ensure that you are in the right direction. So if this is not kept under review, and if this is not something strictly followed, then that entire mentoring thing does not happen. It's not just about randomly coming and talking about something. So it has to be something of a deep driven use towards seeing that the product finally reaches the commercialization. So when you are picking up a mentor, it's very important to see the industry background, and it is very important to see that the person is able to have the relevant qualification in that, and also work experience in that, which ensures that the person is able to add value to your work.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else have any questions or doubts to ask Kishore, sir?
Sir, I have one question.
Yes, ma'am,
Hello.
please go ahead.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, for the startup, initially, how much investment you have to? I mean,
See, startup. There are startup ideas with no investment, right? And there are startup ideas which need investment. Where which are the types of startup ideas that need a lot of investment are those which are basically innovation driven, and they need to be constantly, they need to be supported with R&D and D and all that stuff. So those kinds of startups need a lot of hand holding, and therefore they need a sort of a budget, and they need to be seen that there is adequate funding available for that. So there is no such groundbreaking rule saying that a startup needs to be readied. Normally, if you want to start a startup, you need to have a budget of say 50,000 or so, and that was good enough to get your startup rolling on the ground, provided your product is ready and product is on the commercial scale. Now, uh, unless, as I mentioned, that you are an R&D based startup, and you have a long way of say about 8 9 months when your product is finally ready to hit the market, and you need to in between create usages. You have to give the create a user base there, and have a lot of visibility in the market, and create a brand recall and all that, and more spending is required on those things. In that case, then you need to be a well funded startup. So that depends upon what category that you want to go. Otherwise, 50,000 is a good size of money to start a startup.
so if it is a R&D based startup, means you need more money like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, when you're starting a startup, you would have already figured out what your business idea is, what is your purpose of the startup, what you are going to do, and what is that you will be trying to sell. So when you have all these things, the best way to start a startup is to secure your first orders. Your customer, or your the people who are trying to take the service or product of your startup itself become your investor, because you say, as a part of the terms and condition, you can say 50% advance or 100% advance. So in that case, they become your investors.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there was one question in the chat box.
Yes, sir, by Ms. Dola Sinha. She says prototype testing with lots of wires are problematic and sometimes create hazards. But during commercialization, everything should be well placed and arranged. For this, we need help of special partner. During prototype stage, we can't get such partner. I'm not sure if this is an explanation or if she's wants to
No,
gather
no, I
something.
get a point.
Yeah.
What she's asking is very relevant.
Mm.
Someone asked about mentor. Same
Correct,
way,
correct.
someone asked about mentorship. The same way, you need to also have a technical partner. Okay. Now, if this is a innovation which is of something that is to do with high end technology, you need to have someone who would have developed something in that particular domain, and provide it as a solution. For example, in my medical device which I talked about on oxygen concentrator earlier, the whole thing was that the people who actually made the innovation, and the efficiency level that was expected out of that, and what was really pegged at, was not possible to be achieved unless there is a high end, high quality configuration of compressors. Now, finding a proper technical partner who has developed that compressor and who has got that particular technology was something that we felt was a very critical component in the success of the prototype. So, therefore, we went all around the market and had to find the right relevant technical partner who could help us in bringing his capability to ensure that this entire thing can be done in a methodical way and an efficient way, so that we don't waste our time in trying to master that particular domain, because it's not required. If it is something to do with switches, or it is something to do with some fascia panel, or now my medical device is a oxygen concentrator, but when I take it to rural hospitals, the problem that I faced was that in rural hospitals electricity is not there all the time, right? So when the electricity power failure is there, then my oxygen concentrator will stop working. Then how do I ensure that I am serving the purpose? My objective of building this oxygen concentrator was to serve people to get relevant oxygen levels on a consistent way. Now if there is power shutdown, then all of them will be left hanging. So therefore, do I get into the innovation of finding an energy solution for this? Not required. So therefore, I went and looked for people where we have innovations which are from the solar and renewable energy innovations, which are good enough, compatible enough to ensure that this product is functioning even in terms of power failure. So therefore, we were hunting for a proper technical partner. Now the technical partner himself became our mentor, and we were able to bundle this, and we were able to bring together. So though there were many industry mentors, so we had biomedical scientists, we have some people from various other industry domain who were able to help us on the mentoring part. At the same time, we also had to get someone from the renewable energy to also join the team as a technical mentor. So the technical partner was able to really bring the product as a a solution which will be applicable in all circumstances. So this is something that what Dola has asked. I think it's a very critical question. So
Yes, sir.
this is what I would say, that technical partner is very critical when it comes to a lot of things which are not in the scope of your product development designing, but they it would be required to make sure the efficiency of your product.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We have one more question from Suyo Kulkarni. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sir, it's a very apt, session. Thank you for that. In terms of the cycle, when we say that we want to reach the prototype level and choosing the technical or the marketing partner, uh, uh, please throw light on the fact that suppose in a way that the middleman or the influencer, you might say that they have a bunch of uh, prospective buyers, how would the approach be? For instance, we say that he's trusting the product and he's ready to pitch in also. So how does the partnership should be pitched in terms of their input and our prototype in a way?
Yeah, can you repeat the question in a
Yes, sir.
more smaller way, because it was too
Okay.
long a sentence.
Right, sir. So suppose we build a prototype, that is one, and two is the middleman who is supposed to reach the prospective buyer, because it may be that he has access to the prospective buyer. How should we pitch in terms of partnership? How should the what do you say things should happen? For instance, percent wise or the trade should happen partnership.
Yeah, this is actually a very tricky question, and this is actually a little outside the scope of this entire thing. Now, this is more related to the sales and marketing processes. What happens is when you hit the market, the decision maker in every community, location, or organization could be coming from various levels. But standard framework is that there will be a decision maker, there will be an influencer in the organization, and there will also be a person who will be a champion of that. So when example, when I enter the BMSIT campus, the faculty who is interacting with me will be like a champion who wants to do something about Atal innovation and innovation activity in the campus, and also they will be excited, they will champion this idea. But when I go and look at it deeply and I want to do something at a large scale, there will be one department head, HO, or somebody who has the capacity to influence the management. So that person may not be the decision maker, but has the capability to influence the management. Then finally, who will be the one who will take the decision on behalf of the management is the principal or the chairman of the organization, right? So now it could be combination of both, or it could be independently both taking the decision based on the roles that they are playing. So when you take a product and you go to a particular community or an organization to sell the idea or the concept, normally what you need to keep in mind is whom are you engaging in the exercise. Now if you're saying the influencer is who is going to enable this, then you are mistaken, because ultimately the influencer should have enough influence capability to influence the decision maker to buy it, right? So
Right,
no,
right.
so therefore if there is an influencer and he is a middleman but he is not able to get the required outcome, then you're throwing the entire effort on the wrong person. When you go to buy a two wheeler or a TV or anything like that, you just watch there, stand there for half an hour and see when a couple comes. Normally the decision maker and the person who pays is the male, the husband. But when the entire process of selling happens, it is the person who is next to him, that is his wife, with the way she will be looking at it, the excitement in her eyes, and what she feels that this particular TV or this particular digital camera, whatever, is better than the one that my neighbor has. So she will be looking at in that angle. Just I'm giving a example, and please don't take it very seriously. So when the salesperson is looking at it very seriously and reading all these behaviors, and then at that point of time the person pushes that particular thing and gets the decision maker to buy it. The decision maker most of the time won't even invest so much time on it. As long as the wife is happy, he is willing to pay. Similarly, in an organization, as long as it serves the employees, or as long as it serves the management philosophy or management's need, then the sale will happen automatically, provided the influencer is having the understanding of that. So there's a lot of groundwork you need to do before you pick such things.
Very apt, sir. Thank you, sir. Appreciate.
Does anyone have any more questions? Thank you for the answer, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure, my pleasure.
Yeah. Any more questions to Kishore, sir? I guess there are no more doubts. All right. Sir, thank you for the session. Thank you for the wonderful and a very apt session. So, thank you for taking your time from your busy schedule and coming to the BMSIT session and explaining us about how to, convert a prototype into a startup. And you have very well explained the process of the prototype and the early stage in the design with the real-time examples. So thank you so very much for all the explanation and clearing the real-time doubts from the rest of the audience. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, my
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Good luck. All the best. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you
Yeah.
so
Bye.
very much. Yeah. Thank you, one and all, for participating, and thank you for your questions. They were all helpful. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye.